Have you ever looked at someone else's success and felt that sting of envy? Have you ever caught yourself asking, why not me? Or when will it be my turn? Envy is a silent thief of peace, but what if I told you there's a way to outgrow it completely, not by ignoring it, but by transforming yourself? Today, I'll share the self-mastery formula for rising above envy and living as your highest self. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more content on personal growth and inner strength. Now let's begin. 1. Knowing yourself deeply. The first step to mastering envy is turning inward and truly knowing yourself. Most people think envy is about others, but it's not. It's about what you haven't yet claimed within yourself. Envy disguises itself as resentment towards someone else's success, but if you dig beneath the surface, you will almost always find unacknowledged desires, ignored talents, or fears you've been unwilling to confront. When someone's achievement sparks envy in you, it is usually because they embody something you wish you had the courage to pursue. This is why envy is not really about them. It is a mirror reflecting back the parts of yourself that are still waiting to be accepted, developed, and expressed. The Stoics believed that self-knowledge was the cornerstone of a virtuous life, and they were right. Without deep self-awareness, you are tossed around by every comparison, forever wondering why someone else has more, does more, or shines brighter than you. But once you turn inward and learn to know yourself, not in a superficial sense but with ruthless honesty, you begin to understand that your envy is not a punishment, but a signal. It is pointing you toward the unexplored corners of your own being. When you understand your strengths, weaknesses, desires, and fears, you stop living by comparison. You begin to see your own path as unique, not a copy of someone else's timeline. Self-awareness becomes your compass, guiding you toward growth rather than jealousy. Imagine how freeing it is to wake up and realize that you are no longer bound by the invisible chains of comparison. You see someone else's victory not as a threat, but as an affirmation that progress is possible. Their life no longer intimidates you because you have accepted that your story is unfolding differently. This doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you stop striving for someone else's life. It means you become deeply invested in nurturing the soil of your own being so that your growth comes from authenticity rather than imitation. Knowing yourself also means embracing your limitations with humility and your gifts with courage. Many people deny their strengths because they fear responsibility, just as they hide from their weaknesses because they fear discomfort. But the Stoic Way is different. It calls you to embrace both, to use your gifts for the good of yourself and others while steadily working on your flaws without shame. The more you know yourself, the less envy controls you because you realize that nothing external can define your worth. The comparison game ends and the journey of true self-mastery begins. 2. Mastering your thoughts and feelings. Envy grows in the mind before it ever shows up in your actions. That's why mastering your thoughts and emotions is non-negotiable. The Stoics often reminded us that no one can control what we think except ourselves. When envy rises, you can either feed it or reframe it. The thought is like a spark. If you pour oil on it, it becomes a raging fire of resentment, bitterness, and self-doubt. But if you let it be recognized and redirected, it becomes fuel for growth. Epictetus said that we are disturbed not by things themselves, but by the opinions we form about them. Envy is the perfect example of this truth. When you see someone else's success, your mind instantly creates a story. They are ahead of me. I am behind. I lack something they have. That story is not reality. It is interpretation. And interpretations can be changed. The mastery of envy lies in catching yourself in that moment of interpretation and choosing a different perspective. This requires discipline, but it also requires compassion for yourself. Do not condemn yourself for feeling envy. Instead, see it as a natural impulse that offers you the chance to practice mastery. Instead of saying, "They're ahead of me," shift the thought to, "They're showing me what's possible." Emotional mastery allows you to break free from the storm of envy and step into a state of calm focus. Think about how empowering this shift is. The same situation, the same external reality, but now your inner response is transformed. The person you once envied becomes a silent teacher, demonstrating potential rather than threatening your worth. This reframing doesn't happen by accident. It comes from daily practice. Just as a muscle grows stronger when trained, so does your ability to master your thoughts when you consistently train your mind. The Stoics advise journaling, reflection, and deliberate pauses throughout the day to examine one's thoughts. You can adopt the same practices. When envy arises, ask yourself, what belief is driving this feeling? Is it true? Is it useful? More often than not, you will discover that the belief is neither true nor useful. It is simply a mental habit waiting to be unlearned. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing envy, but about dissolving its power over you. Once you begin to observe your mind with clarity, envy loses its sting. What remains is focus, calmness, and the ability to channel your energy where it matters most: your own life, your own actions, your own growth.
3. Building self-respect through action. Nothing kills envy faster than disciplined action. When you consistently honor your own goals, your self-respect grows, and you no longer feel the need to measure your worth against others. Envy thrives in idle minds. It feeds on comparison when you are stagnant, when you are waiting, when you are watching life happen instead of participating in it. But the moment you step into action, you redirect your attention away from what others are doing and on to the progress you are making. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates dignity. The Stoics did not waste their lives debating endlessly about virtue. They practiced it, lived it, and embodied it. Likewise, you cannot think your way out of envy. You must act your way out. Every disciplined act, no matter how small, builds a wall of strength inside you, protecting you from the corrosive effects of comparison. When you live in alignment with your values, envy cannot take root, because your sense of worth no longer depends on external validation. You have already validated yourself through action. Think about it. Every small action you take in alignment with your values is a brick in the foundation of self-respect. The more you build, the less you care about who has more, because you know you're on the right path for you. Imagine two people, one who spends their days scrolling, comparing, envying, and complaining, and another who spends their days quietly working, improving, and aligning with their deepest values. The first may experience fleeting moments of satisfaction when life offers distractions, but their inner world remains restless, fragile, and insecure. The second, however, develops a deep, unshakable confidence, not because they have everything, but because they are living with integrity. Self-respect is not given, nor is it inherited. It is earned through consistent action. And once you have built it, no one can take it from you. This is why action is so powerful. It replaces the emptiness that envy thrives on with the fullness of a life lived intentionally. Instead of looking outward for worth, you find it within, brick by brick, choice by choice, action by action. In the end, envy fades, not because the world changes, but because you have transformed yourself into someone who no longer needs to compare. You stand tall on the foundation you've built, secure in the knowledge that your life is truly your own.
4. Eliminating toxic comparisons. One of the most dangerous habits we've normalized is constant comparison. From a very young age, we are subtly conditioned to measure ourselves against others, whether through grades in school, trophies in sports, or the unspoken hierarchy of popularity. By the time we reach adulthood, comparison has become second nature. Social media then pours fuel on this fire, magnifying every insecurity by presenting us with endless highlight reels. Everyone else seems to be achieving more, traveling more, loving more, earning more. This illusion creates the false impression that we are always behind, always lacking, always inferior. Yet this entire mindset is a trap. Toxic comparisons rob you of joy, energy, and gratitude, replacing them with envy, restlessness, and resentment. They turn life into a constant scoreboard where your value depends on how you rank against others, instead of how faithfully you walk your own path. What makes toxic comparisons so destructive is that they shift your focus from growth to judgment. Instead of asking, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" you ask, "Am I better than them?" That second question has no real answer because the game never ends. There will always be someone wealthier, healthier, younger, older, more talented, more recognized. Even those at the very top of their fields admit to feeling envy toward others. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca once warned that envy is sorrow at another's good, a sickness of the soul. When you allow comparison to dominate your thinking, you surrender your peace of mind. Your victories feel small, your progress invisible, and your own blessings worthless. It is as if you are standing in the sunlight but refuse to notice the warmth because you are fixated on someone else's shadow. The way out is not to deny ambition or stop appreciating others' success, but to reframe the way you interpret what you see. Instead of comparison, choose inspiration. If someone is ahead, let them serve as living proof that the climb is possible. Their achievement is not evidence of your inadequacy, but a reminder that the summit can be reached. When you view others as sources of guidance rather than rivals, your energy shifts. Envy poisons the heart, but inspiration fuels it. The runner who sees someone faster can despair, or they can study their stride and improve. The artist who sees another's masterpiece can feel small, or they can learn new techniques and create even more boldly. In this way, comparison is transformed into a teacher rather than a thief. A practical way to eliminate toxic comparisons is to train your attention. Each time you notice yourself measuring your life against someone else's, pause and ask, what can I learn from this person? What about their success can serve as motivation for my own path? And equally important, what is already going well in my life that I may be overlooking? Gratitude and inspiration are the antidotes to envy. They bring your attention back to abundance instead of lack. Over time, this practice rewires your thinking. Instead of spiraling into resentment, you rise into possibility. Instead of drowning in someone else's timeline, you reclaim your own. Life stops being a race against others and becomes a walk toward your own highest potential.
5. Living as your highest self. At the peak of self-mastery is the practice of living as your highest self, an existence defined not by constant reaction to the outside world, but by deep alignment with your inner truth. Your highest self is not some unreachable ideal or flawless version of you. Rather, it is the expression of your values, your wisdom, and your integrity consistently applied. Living in this state means you are unshaken by envy, grounded in self-awareness, and fully committed to growth. It means you have stopped chasing approval and started embodying authenticity. Instead of being pulled by every trend, comparison, or fear, you stand rooted in your own purpose. This is not about perfection. It is about congruence, about ensuring that your daily actions mirror the person you know deep down you are capable of becoming. When you live as your highest self, envy dissolves because you no longer measure your worth by external markers. You understand that your journey has its own pace, its own terrain, and its own beauty. Others may walk faster or slower, higher or lower, but none of that changes the fact that your path is uniquely yours.
Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminded himself daily, "Do not waste the rest of your life speculating about others. Instead, learn to be content with what you have and strive for what is within your reach." In other words, the highest self is free from distraction by the noise of comparison. It is focused on the present moment and on embodying virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, and discipline. This grounding brings a deep sense of peace because freedom is no longer found in competing, but in simply being aligned with who you truly are. Living as your highest self also means holding yourself accountable to a vision greater than comfort or convenience. Growth requires discipline, and discipline requires clarity. You cannot live as your highest self if your values remain vague. What do you stand for? What principles guide your decisions when no one is watching? What legacy do you want to leave? These questions form the compass of the highest self. Without answering them, you are at the mercy of circumstance and opinion. With them, you gain direction and resilience. Challenges still arise, but you face them with integrity instead of fear. You may falter, but you return quickly to alignment because you know what you are living for. This way of life is demanding, but it is also liberating. It strips away pretense and leaves you with something unshakable: self-respect. When you embody your highest self, you realize that freedom does not come from escaping difficulty, but from facing it with strength. You discover that joy is not in the endless chase for more, but in the daily practice of living authentically. The Stoics taught that happiness is not something given by fortune, but something created by virtue. In the same way, the highest self is not handed to you. It is cultivated, refined, and lived into. Each choice to act with courage instead of fear, with kindness instead of bitterness, with purpose instead of distraction, strengthens the highest version of yourself. And as this way of life deepens, you no longer envy others because you recognize that you are already walking a meaningful path. That recognition is real freedom. The freedom to live not as a shadow of someone else, but as the fullest expression of yourself.
So remember, the formula for outgrowing envy is simple but powerful. Know yourself, master your mind, respect yourself through action, eliminate toxic comparisons, and live as your highest self. If you practice these consistently, envy will lose its grip on you, and you'll step fully into your own greatness. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs it. Your journey to self-mastery starts now. Choose to rise above envy and watch how your life transforms.